jugar en el Mundial. Y el segundo es salir.
Footballer that I've ever seen, and that the world has seen for the last 30 years, certainly.
Loved him as a player. I thought he was fantastic. I still think he's the best player of all time.
He was the greatest ever, yes, no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind now.
He was the best player of his time.
I mean, a fantastic player. He's one of the greatest footballers that lived. No doubt about that.
Diego Armando Maradona, revered by footballers, reviled by the establishment. Tonight, we hear from the legend himself.
No quiero ser mito. Quiero aclarar. Quiero aclarar a la gente. Yo, por favor.
Too late, mate. Leader of a nation, the man behind the theory of relativity, the creator of very life itself. Can this man be real? As Eric Cantona said, it was to football what Rimbaud was to poetry, what Mozart was to music. Pretentious. Me?
Oh, and Maradona's away. Suddenly a gap opens up for him. And that's magnificent.
Tonight, we'll be looking at the crazy kaleidoscope that was and is Diego Maradona's life, breaking it down into 4 handy sections. The good, the bad, the mad, and the downright ugly.
He whored and he drugged and he just lived life to the full.
If he'd chosen to kill somebody, he would have got away with it.
Anything he wanted could be brought to him on a plate.
If we have to brand him as a womanizer, then good luck to him.
If there was ever an award for the bad boy of football, it would be on the mantelpiece of Diego Armando Maradona.
Nunca vivieron dentro de Maradona. Nunca hablaron con Maradona. Nunca compartieron con Maradona. Si ellos hubiesen compartido, si ellos hubieran hablado con Maradona, no serían tan malas.
The boy genius was born in 1960. Mother Tota screamed, "Goal!" And the doctor declared, "Congratulations, you have a son, and he is pure donkey."
Maradona was born to be a genius. I'm sure the first time his mother saw him, she thought he was a genius, and she was right.
Diego grew up in Fiorito, a slum on the outskirts of Buenos Aires, a greater den of thieves and iniquity you'd be hard-pressed to find. Unless, of course, you're from Hackney.
Yo me acuerdo que no teníamos ni televisión. Entonces eso ayudaba a que nos fuéramos a acostar temprano, para levantarnos temprano al otro día, para tomar aire puro. Hoy no sé si los chicos están tan libres de un montón de cosas, de la droga, de los bailes,
But cocaine and glitter balls were things our young innocent Diego the Good could only dream of. One of 8 children, he was brought up in this very shack, with no mod cons and very basic plumbing, which led to a near-death experience that would change his life forever when he fell into an open cesspit.
Hola, 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 hola.
Perhaps attracted by his waving, his uncle comes out, grabs him by the hand and, like in an old-fashioned Western, pulls him out of the pit. And I think that ever since that moment, Diego Maradona has believed that he is impregnable, he is invulnerable, he is beyond defeat, he is chosen by God for whatever he does.
Further evidence of his divinity was to come. Without enough money to buy jumpers for goalposts or even a ball, the young Diego still managed to demonstrate a supernatural talent for the game.
What did Maradona do? He grabbed oranges from the street or from his mother and he juggled with them, kept them in the air for 2 or 3 minutes without touching the ground.
Yes, it's fruit juggling! One habit among many he found hard to break, even in later life. Go on, my son! However, the young Diego soon learned that football was played with a leather ball, an early sign that this lad was no fool, and he took to it like a lamb to scrapie.
He was so good that when he, as a 9-year-old, joined this team, the coach thought that he couldn't be 9 years old, he was too good, he must be a dwarf.
By general rule of thumb, dwarves don't usually make it in football. But Diego was so good, he signed his first professional contract with Argentinos Juniors at just 14. Frightening and beautiful indeed. 10 days before his 16th birthday, the Nurief of the Pampas became the youngest ever to play a First Division professional game. Maradona was becoming a legend.
Well, he went on and on improving until eventually it got to the point where people weren't saying, let's go and see Argentinos Juniors. They were saying, let's go and see Maradona. Come on, let's go and see Maradona. He had the great virtue that not only his team's fans supported him, everybody in the country supported him.
Some of the biggest support came from the Argentine army. And like Elvis before him, he was called up for 2 years compulsory military service. Dutiful Diego had the regimental crew cut and donned a uniform, but after just 15 days, the military junta decided he was more use playing football than ruthlessly rewriting small children's homework.
Sí, hace 2 semanas que ya ingresé y estoy muy contento porque me han tratado bien, pero siempre, o sea, tratando de cumplir lo más que puedo. Pero me dan libertad como para venir a los entrenamientos y a la selección.
And he did. At the tender age of 17, Diego played his first international. And with the World Cup about to be played in his home country, it couldn't get any better. And it didn't. He was dropped from the squad by manager Cesar Luis Menotti. Diego took the news philosophically.
No le tenía bronca, lo quería matar. Pero... No, me acuerdo que me fui llorando desde José C. Paz hasta Villa del Parque.
He literally, locked himself in a room, burst out crying, stamped his feet, threatened never to play again, cursed Menotti, cursed the team, cursed everyone.
Argentina managed to win the World Cup without the stroppy teenager, and no one seemed to mind. Even the police were jigging in the street. But with Rattle firmly back in the pram, El Pelusa, the long-haired straggly one, was back on best behaviour. Winning the Junior World Cup, he secured his mythological status alongside Eva Perón, General Galtieri and corned beef.
When Maradona won the Youth World Cup, people started talking of a price tag. It was so sudden, Did you know that kid? Oh, he's worth $6 million, or And I remember $6 million because there was a $6 million man. So that was it was like science fiction. Surely $6 million.
By the age of 20, Maradona had scored 140 goals in 200 First Division games. In 1981, the bionic Barrio boy went supersonic when he signed for Boca Juniors. Within 6 months, Boca won the league championship. Every major club in Europe was now trying to get Diego to sign. Ajax, Bayern Munich, Sheffield United.
But can you imagine if he'd gone to Sheffield? History would have been completely different, possibly.
But it was not to be. The Blades would have to soldier on into obscurity without him. Instead, Diego signed for the little-known Spanish club Barcelona for $7.3 million, which in those days was a lot of money. But the words pear and shaped come to mind, as the most expensive player on the planet was about to disgrace himself at the 1982 World Cup. It was about to go from good to very, very bad. Barcelona circa 1982. El Stumpo had just signed for the biggest club in the world, and it was here in Spain that we saw the first signs of Diego the Bad. Diego made his debut in Barcelona playing for Argentina in the World Cup. In the planet's premiere, the Barcelona board a tad worried about what they'd spent over $7 million on. Plus, when you buy Diego, you get more than just 5'4" of footballing genius.
He turned up at the airport with 50 relatives, friends and relatives, people from the neighbourhood, family. And in Barcelona, they scoffed at him because, you know, you don't do that, it's not classy.
Not classy? Diego? Well, he showed them. He promptly moved his clan into a small, inauspicious, gold-plated mansion with indoor fountains, a swimming pool, and Spain's largest collection of erotica. That's porn to me and you. The neighbours weren't very impressed.
Who does he think he is, just because he's got some money? And just this snobbish attitude, which he had not encountered before. He came from a situation where he was a genius, he was a god, he was a star, he was Diego. And suddenly, you know, he was an immigrant.
He may have been an immigrant, but he was an internationally famous 22-year-old millionaire immigrant. He loved the nightlife, he loved to boogie. La vida loca beckoned.
He wasn't really prepared for the impact of money, for the impact of sponsorship, for the impact of television, and for the impact of fame.
Suddenly the world is open to you. It's a beautiful city, there's a jet set, there's all sorts of things that you've probably never come across before in your very sheltered Buenos Aires life among your family and the people you grew up with. And one of those things is cocaine.
Porque uno se tiene mucha confianza, como que va a salir siempre, de todo. Como jugador me arrepiento mucho, porque podía haber dado muchísimos más. Pero esa es la ventaja que le pude dar a Pelé y a mis adversarios.
There's people who would say he was a hypocrite for doing it, but I say no. I say what he did is he did his research. He wanted to be sure that drugs were bad for kids, so he went out and did as many as he possibly could. And as a direct result,
people following Maradona. He was also getting phone calls from fans who were seeing Maradona at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning in some of the nightclubs of the city or outside the city or in Sitges or around there, and were telling the president and the club, look, that's what Maradona is doing.
Every minute you don't give me my passport, I'm going to break a trophy. After he broke the first one, Núñez came running with his passport. That was the relationship between Maradona and Núñez.
While smashing trophies off the pitch, Maradona wasn't doing much to win them on it. In the 1984 Cup final, he pushed the self-destruct button. Barcelona lost the game, and Maradona lost his rag, sparking a mass brawl in front of the Spanish royal family.
Maradona got upset and just jumped onto the player.
Sobre Maradona, y hay un enzarzamiento general, ahí lo ven ustedes, de Maradona con varios jugadores del Atlético de Bilbao.
everybody realised that the time for Maradona was over then and there.
Barcelona appointed a new manager, Cockney Barra boy Terry Venables. Maradona's days were numbered.
He wanted to leave the club, and after hearing the story and what his position was there, I felt he had to leave, and I agreed with him. And we had a meeting, and I would love to have worked with him, but it was impossible, so he went.
I think he was under too much attention. Again, he was just this player who was going to make Barcelona the greatest team in Europe, and it just didn't happen.
So where now for the greatest player on the planet? Able to go to any club he wanted to, he decided on, of course, Naples. Home of the pizza, poverty, organised crime, and a team who had never won anything. Ever. Excellent choice.
This was the slum club. This was the poverty-stricken club that needed hauling from that terrible situation into the glamour, into the grandeur of the world elite.
What Maradona needs to be is head and shoulders above everybody else. He needs to drag his team forward. And in Napoli, he absolutely found his role. And he does have a great sense of theatre, and he knew how to play to that role completely.
And so to the start of the 1984 season. Maradona's arrival with the ever-present entourage was a suitably low-key affair.
It's a Sunday, and 85,000 people in São Paulo. And there was no football on, you know, it was just for him. Everybody was going there waiting for the God himself, because he was a god to us. Everything was like colours, blue and white everywhere, and the crowd were just so excited to see him. And people, I mean, a lot of people cried for Maradona, you know?
While Naples wondered if they had paid $13 million for the most expensive ball juggler in history, everyone else was wondering where Naples had got $13 million from. Rumours have it that a local family helped out.
Que un francés dijo en la conferencia de prensa, dijo, a Maradona lo compró la camorra, se armó un quilombo espectacular, que Ferlaino le tiró con algo. Yo no entendía nada.
Row or not, the footballing bad boy was worth every laundered lira, as Maradona's magic took Naples from the bottom of Serie A to the brink of European football. And with the 1986 World Cup looming, Diego was in training to score by stealth, practicing the now legendary Hand of God manoeuvre.
Yo siempre voy al primer palo. Voy al primer palo para la foto, porque yo no puedo cabecear ni en los bailes. ¿Viste? Para que me vean en la Argentina. Claro, para que me vean en la Argentina, así. Porque no podía cabecear. Entonces, y yo me doy vuelta y me queda la pelota acá. Y dice así, gol. Gol. Tenés que decirle que fue mano, que esto, que el otro. Yo hacía así, me hacía boludo. Chico. Entonces me dice, Diego, nos conocemos hace mucho. Si vos decís que es gol, no sos honesto. Le dije, encantado. Diego Armando Maradona deshonesto.
And in Mexico for the 1986 World Cup, a group of stout-hearted English yeomen were about to find out just how dishonest. And here is some previously unseen footage that reveals exactly what happened that momentous day.
And Maradona picks a way through where there seemed to be none. And Shelton is beaten to it. It's Maradona's goal. And England claim that it was put in with the hand.
England's disappointed players leave behind the burning controversy of Diego Maradona's first goal. A hero or a villain? Did Maradona use his hand or his head to score? Did Maradona use his hand or his head to score? Did Maradona use his hand or his head to score?
It went up in the air. From where we were in the dugout, we just saw Peter Shilton coming out to punch it.
Saw Maradona just come from the pack and go towards Peter Shilton.
And I honestly did think, at the time, I thought, he's headed it. I thought he got there before Peter Shilton. And then we saw the monitor and thought, God, we've been done.
Es querer meter la mano y llevártela. La picardía es el gol a los ingleses.
You can imagine, can't you, like one of these little tea leaves and going around picking your pocket and, you know, getting away with it.
The thing about Maradona is, and I say this affectionately, well, he's got a big head. His head covered the movement of what became the hand of God. I mean, it was the sort of thing that only great players can get away with.
Shocking.
And to add insult to injury, Maradona then had the audacity to lie to an Englishman.
And I asked him and made sign language, was it a head or was it a hand? And he went, no, it was with my head.
Shocking.
Forget the hand of God. Well, you can't. The second goal said more about that game than sticking the ball in with his fist ever could.
Es el gol soñado porque vos siempre querés hacer así, en el sueño está eludir al arquero, gol. Y es así.
The beauty of the England game in Mexico is that was Maradona there in one moment. You know, you got the sly, cheating, underhand, ugly side of football presented with a little hook past Peter Shilton, and then you've got the sheer, unadulterated, pure genius of his second goal. He was both of those things, and like with all great people, the dark side is always going to be there as well. And the nice thing about it is we got Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in one game.
He might have been a handballing cheat from the dark side.
Y el que más se divirtió, seguramente. Y por sobre todas las cosas pude levantar la copa.
Diego ne pensait à rien d'autre qu'au football. So how'd you top that? Well, if you're a squat Argentine genius, you win league titles and cups, meet the Pope, and get involved with organised crime. Yes, things were about to go crazy.
The world's greatest player, Diego Armando Maradona, won the World Cup for Argentina in 1986.
Oh, Maradona! How did he do that?
After single-handedly winning the World Cup, Maradona, the miracle worker, did it again.
A lot of the Italian stuff that I used to watch when he was at Napoli was genius, and he took that club from very humble achievements to great achievements during the period he was there.
A whole city, a whole region brought to the best of in all Italy and in all Europe. Everybody was looking at Naples with a different eye, you know.
For the first time in their history, Diego delivered the league title to Naples. And between 1987 and 1990, the UEFA Cup, the Coppa Italia, and the league title once again. You could say the locals were a bit chuffed.
It's a bloke who wore his emotions on his sleeve. And of course, it tapped a nerve with the supporters in Italy as well, because, you know, they're given to the odd emotional outburst as well, it has to be said.
Diego for us was a son, mother, father at the sea. All the most important things in life.
Pure opera is basically what we're talking about here. We're watching someone on the stage bawling his eyes out in a highly emotional moment, and an audience down there bawling their eyes out along with him as well. The highs and lows, the whole thing was pure melodrama.
Mamá. Maradona inamorato sono. Feo.
Maradona madness had hit Naples. The madness of Maradona was shortly to follow.
I don't think that Maradona is a man with much self-control. And everywhere he went, you know, he would always take it too far. And there he was in Naples. And he just couldn't help himself. He was the kid in the sweet shop.
What can I say? Diego Armando Maradona sent shivers down the spines of women, the young and the not so young.
He went in a club and he was dancing and having a good time, and people saw him walk out with 4 different women, and probably had a good night.
Parties would be arranged of women of the night, and Diego would be brought along there, and they would have, you know, orgies and have a good time.
Shocking.
If we have to brand him as a womanizer, then good luck to him.
Ladies, don't worry. Diego always carried protection, but not in his wallet.
And indeed, he went to parties with the leading figures of the Camorra.
There's no real comparison. You think of Paul Gascoigne in Italy with Jimmy Five Bellies. It doesn't really compare, and them going off fishing for the weekend. It doesn't really compare with Maradona hanging out with the Camorra and whoring and taking drugs all the time.
So he got a situation where he could choose to do whatever he wanted and nothing would have ever happened to him. People, experts in this matters, tell me that if he'd chosen to kill somebody, he would have got away with it.
Well, can you imagine one of the Rottweilers from the English press in Naples sees Maradona doing something he shouldn't be doing in the toilets of some nightclub the night before a match, and then taking it back to his desk and saying, well, I've got the great story on Diego, let's run it across the front page and pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think so, because they'd be getting a visit from the guys the next day.
However, once the results stopped going Napoli's way, questions did start to be asked about Diego's private excesses and increasingly bonkers behaviour.
No hay un libro que diga, no salgas de noche y vas a hacer 4 goles. No te compres una Ferrari y vas a ser campeón. No hay un libro que diga, anda a dormir a las 7 de la tarde todos los días que vas a tener de novia a la Schiffer. No existe, ¿me entendés? Entonces cada uno tiene que hacer su vida.
Maradona began to miss morning training. He'd often miss afternoon training too.
Acting like a brat with his players and manager, he then made the mistake of fathering one, when a former lover publicly announced she was carrying another Diddy Diego. Maradona denied all responsibility. Big mistake, as Italians love kids.
Not being able to recognise this boy as his son, the fact that he rather cowardly fled the scene without explanation, well, that was the beginning of the end for him.
With the paternity suit pending, Maradona announced his wedding to childhood sweetheart Claudia Villafani. Nice touch. Their big day hit new levels on the madometer.
Diego finally married Claudia in Buenos Aires in one of the most kitsch wedding ceremonies of all time. It made Bex and Posh look like a small do at the local registry office with a passing tramp as the only witness. But of course, before the wedding even happened, Maradona had lamped a cameraman who got in his way. It was Argentina's society wedding of the year. Claudia's dress apparently cost $30,000.
His wedding day, and I think that's, a real shame. It was a beautiful day.
Apparently there was cocaine in the bowls, of food on the tables.
We all felt like we'd arrived in Euro Disney, like we was children again. It was a fantastic day.
Prostitutes were provided for the male guests who so desired, and it got phenomenal coverage on TV and in the newspapers.
With the approach of the 1990 World Cup, Diego's wedding tackle got more than just Claudia's attention. Cue Italian Secretary of State for Filth, La Cicciolina, and the handjob of God scene.
For the 1990 World Cup, the Italian porn star turned politician La Cicciolina made a video a porn video in which the narrative runs thus. Her quest was to tire out the stars of all Italy's rivals in the World Cup, and this she did through her charms, apart from one man, Diego Maradona, who was too grand, too pompous to take part in anything with her, so he just brought himself off.
But Diego had enough energy left to drag the Argentine team kicking and snarling through to the final. Falling short of the winning post due to a penalty decision, he still...
De que Alemania tenía que ser campeón del mundo. Si no era un penal, le iba a cobrar 20 tiro libre al borde de área para que no haga.
Maradona stomped off the pitch, crying like a girl.
Watching Maradona with crocodile tears, picking up the runners-up medals, and I couldn't believe it. This is a wonderful footballer I'd admired. Seeing him milk this terrible situation where his team had disgraced the World Cup finals, that we'd been brought up to believe in Pelé and Bobby Moore, and here he was, and that terrible Argentinian side.
Diego cried all the way back to Naples, where things went from mad to worse. After testing positive for cocaine, Maradona was banned from football for 15 months.
Everybody was surprised because everybody knew that Maradona was using drugs, not certainly to improve his performances on the pitch. He didn't need it. He just using it probably for his personal reasons. And so, yeah, we were surprised for that, and it was really pity because we missed him so much.
Yeah, he had drugs, so what? We won twice the league. We won loads of things, and while we were winning, he was on drugs. So why didn't they stop him there? Why didn't they chuck him out when we were winning? So we had a bad couple of years because he's taking drugs and now he's not good.
Things couldn't possibly get any worse, and with drugs, prostitution, organised crime and a paternity suit hanging over him, Maradona stood proud, held his head high and fled Naples in the middle of the night.
Diego Maradona es él, es Diego, no se puede llegar hasta Diego.
Back home in Buenos Aires, Maradona went into free fall. Out of football, out of favour and out of his mind. He was arrested in possession of cocaine. The ploy of chucking it out the window where the police and media were gathered wasn't the smartest move on Diego's part. Maradona was suicidal. The authorities decided that for the safety of Argentina, Diego would have to undergo counselling.
Los políticos te dan el balcón de la Casa Rosada cuando ganás. Cuando perdés te dan por el orto que se te cae en tu casa.
His backside in a sling and seemingly clean of drug abuse, Maradona signed for Spanish side Seville in 1992.
When he went to Sevilla, he knew there was not going to be as much pressure as it would have been in a team in Madrid or in Barcelona. He knew the club were going to allow him to do whatever he wanted because it was a small club. It was a big fish in a small pond, basically, and they were going to allow him to do whatever he wanted.
But it wasn't too long before Maradona was back to shocking the locals as he publicly abused an innocent piece of fruit.
There was this orange who came out of the table, went to the floor, and without touching it with his hands, just with one foot, then the other, and then the knee, then the other knee, and then shoulder, and ended up putting the orange on the top of someone's head.
This is considered sacrilegious in Seville. Orange juggling carries an automatic 5-year prison sentence. But once again, the authorities buried it.
Shocking.
Things got worse when Maradona took the rest of the team out for his version of a relaxing pint after work.
There was another scandal involving Diego taking the entire Sevilla team to a brothel where conveniently one of the biggest scandal magazines was on hand with their photographers, photographed the whole thing. So one scandal followed another.
Increasingly troublesome off the pitch, Maradona was also a handful on it. And after 12 months at the club, Diego bade the Seville crowd a heartfelt adieu. Once more, Diego ran home to Buenos Aires, spending his time relaxing and taking potshots at journalists who'd gathered outside his home. Fortunately, it was only with an air rifle and no one died, but it showed he could still hit the proverbial Argentine cow's backside with a banjo. With legal action pending and the journalist still recovering, the Argentinian football authorities had no choice but to make Maradona captain for the 1994 World Cup.
And so he goes into a training regime that I understand would have buckled a boxer or a Tour de France cyclist. And when he appears, what people forget now, behind the scandal and everything, is that we were all very excited. He was slim, he was fit, he was focused.
And he was looking like he could once again take Argentina to another World Cup victory.
Then he runs to the camera, and then anybody with any common sense thinks, my God, he's hyped to the eyeballs, that fella.
And you see the worst possible thing you've ever seen out of a footballer. You look into the eyes, the crazed eyes.
What you're looking at is everything. It was all there. There was nothing was hidden. You got the entire lot.
Look, help me. Look at the state I am in. This is what the game, what fame, what Argentina society, what hangers-on have done to me. Help me. And you see what he'd become. This terrible, I've sold my football soul to the devil.
Argentina won their first 2 games. After the second, Maradona was led away for a drugs test. He didn't look too worried though. The unsuspecting superstar thought he'd pulled a nerve. Unfortunately, the only thing that was pulled was the man himself from the competition.
After he tested positive for this 5-drug cocktail of stimulant at the 1994 World Cup, he of course denied any responsibility, and he claimed that the CIA had planted the drugs somehow inside his system.
He thought he had become a world figure that was worth conspiring against.
CIA conspiracy. Listen, I was in the World Cup finals for a month in 1994. Half the people in America didn't even know it was going on.
Maradona?
I like your music. Maradona? No.
I don't approve of her at all.
Maradona? No, I don't think I have. Who is she?
And while Maradona's musical career looked like it would never take off in America, his football career was at its lowest ebb.
Even by the standards of Diego, who had always come up from the gutter, who'd always come back from the shit, who'd always managed to get back, that was really the point beyond which even Diego Maradona would not be able to come back from.
But Maradona does come back as a lover, a fighter, an academic, the world's first human helicopter, and from death itself. After the break, things get ugly.
¡Quiero Cuba!
After his fall from grace in the 1994 World Cup, Maradona's life became a grotesque carnival, as it all turned rather ugly. Banned from football, but not management, Diego took the helm at an Argentine second division club later in 1994, but couldn't stop them being relegated. After 2 months in the job, he was off. There followed a series of failed comebacks and testimonials all around the world, and as his weight went up and down like a vicar's cassock, special shirts had to be designed.
It was like something out of a beastly B-grade horror movie to see this thing waddle out.
He's like Mr. Blobby at the minute, and it's a shame really that a player of, career he's had ability-wise, he has to let himself go.
Things were to turn even uglier. In 1999, while in Uruguay, Diego Armando Maradona died.
Y estuve muerto casi 50 segundos.
But he got better with another miraculous comeback.
Forcé la máquina hasta que una mañana estuve en coma. Yo creo que la suma de todo lo que venía haciendo en el año.
Que lo cumpla.
Against all odds, Diego made it to his 40th birthday. And in the same year, at FIFA's Millennium Party, Maradona picked up the award for Footballer of the Century, followed 10 minutes later by Pelé picking up the award for Footballer of the Century.
FIFA had allowed the public to vote through the internet. Maradona won it by a landslide, 3 times as many votes as Pelé, but all of them from computers in Argentina.
Numero uno!
If anyone can shift goalposts, FIFA can. And Sepp Honest John Blatter awarded Pelé the FIFA Player of the Century award. Diego got the People's Award.
The great thing about Maradona is he dealt with the situation like the true diplomat, scholar, and all-round gentleman that he always was, and questioned Pelé's sexuality.
Yo lo que no soporto es que para él esté todo bien siempre. Le pegan en la cabeza, está bien. Está bien. La patada está bien. Le dicen, ¿querés cagar? Está bien. No, no es así. No es así.
Initially refused entry into Japan for the World Cup due to the little matter of a previous drugs conviction, Diego was reduced to watching Argentina gracefully lose to England on TV from his Cuban home. Revenge is sweet. Still, while Diego is persona non grata in the footballing world, he remains a man who cannot, who will not, be ignored.
Otro asado más y 5 de Periñón.
If they don't praise Diego Maradona, then there's a whole 6 to 8 year period of world football that doesn't exist because he is the dominant force in that time. Nobody else touches him.
La historia ya está escrita. Los casinos lo pueden romper. Me encantaría entrar, pero los que si no me dejan entrar, seguramente no darán la cara. No tendrán nombres ni apellidos. Y esa es la mafia.
I mean, nobody would have him. You know, these people who become ambassadors for the sport are very good at being bland. Maradona could never be bland.
Unfortunately, that's not a career open to Diego Armando Maradona, is it? Here we have a violent, drug-taking, mafia-associating, whore mongering individual who's just not going to move in those circles. I'll tell you what as well, though, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't suit him. It's not rebellious enough. It's not outside enough.
Just as you would never send Mike Tyson to promote boxing, you could never send Maradona. You just don't know what he'd say.
A pesar de todo, quiero un fútbol que la gente vaya a la cancha, que no haya partidos arreglados, que no haya partidos comprados, que no digiten a los árbitros, que podamos correr y podamos ser 11 contra 11, no 12 contra 11.
While in Cuba, Maradona spends his time hanging out with Fidel Castro, where they discuss economics, international politics, and tattoos.
Yo toda la mañana digo, buen día, Fidel, buen día, Che.
It is two absolutely A-list icons shaking hands together. I mean, we're here with, this is Elvis and Nixon, isn't it? You know, this is something fantastic.
Question is, how will he be remembered?
I think he'll be remembered by English people as a bit of a cheat. A good player, but a bit of a cheat. In Scotland, he's a national hero because of what he did to England. He's not the most popular man in England, but if you actually love football and you take that out of the way, the handball and whatever, as I said earlier, he's the best player I've ever seen.
Because no man has been more talented than him. No man has been so outrageously gifted as he was. And he's just paying the price for that gift every day.
Here's Maradona now. Is this number 2? Oh, brilliant.
And even though he may now be reduced to celebrating the arrival of main courses, Diego Armando Maradona, the people's player of the 20th century, has no regrets.
Que si hay cosas malas que hice, la hice con mi plata. Segundo, no maté nunca a nadie. Y tercero, hice vivir a mis afectos lo que nunca vivieron. Si esos son pecados, seguiré pecando.
Shocking.
Que del muerto siempre, qué buen chico era